Lake Mead still looks like a reservoir. The water is still blue. The dam still stands. But look at the intake towers. 4 concrete columns rising nearly 400 feet out of the water, each one the height of a 39-story building, each one originally buried beneath the surface of a full lake. They are not buried anymore. Sections of those towers that spent 80 years submerged are now fully exposed. Bare concrete catching sunlight at an elevation they were never designed to see. That water is not healthy anymore. And 40 million people depend on it for water and power they assume will always be there. That exposed concrete is not a cosmetic problem. It is a mechanical one. Each tower is a fixed intake structure. It cannot move. It cannot follow the water down. And as the lake retreats, the geometry of how water enters those towers changes in ways that are not recoverable without intervention. By the end of this case file, you will understand exactly how 40 million people get cut off. Not through a dramatic collapse, but through a sequence of fixed thresholds the system was never designed to survive below. The surface gives you no warning before it does. Most people see Hoover Dam as a monument, a feat of engineering that solved the American Southwest's water problem for a century. Others see it as a symbol of control, of scale, of permanence. But through a forensic lens, Hoover Dam is not a monument to permanence. It is a fixed mechanical system built around one assumption, that the lake behind it would stay full enough to feed 4 intake towers that cannot adjust to a falling waterline. That assumption is now failing in real time. Start with what the intake towers actually are, because most people have never thought about them mechanically. There are 4 of them. 2 sit upstream and feed the power turbines through massive pipes called penstocks. 2 sit downstream and feed the outlet works. Every tower is 395 feet tall. Every base spans 82 feet in diameter. These are not pipes. They are hollow concrete columns engineered to withstand the pressure of a full reservoir pressing against them from every direction. Inside each tower, there are 2 sets of cylinder gate openings, upper gates and lower gates, each opening measuring 32 feet in diameter and 11 feet high. The system was designed so that water could be drawn from different depths depending on the lake's level, with the upper gates handling higher water and the lower gates handling the deeper draws. Each tower was designed to control exactly 1/4 of the total water supply sent to the turbines. 4 towers, 4 equal shares, 1 reservoir assumed to be full. Now look at what happens when the lake drops. The upper cylinder gates do not follow the water. They stay fixed at their original elevation. As Lake Mead recedes, those upper openings move further and further above the waterline, or, more precisely, the waterline moves further and further below them. They become stranded. They become useless. The system begins to consolidate draw onto fewer and fewer active gates, concentrating the intake load onto the lower cylinder openings in the towers that still have water above them. This is the first diagnostic layer. The system looks like it is functioning because water is still moving. But the functional geometry has already contracted. The intake architecture is running on a fraction of its original depth range, and the towers themselves are telling you exactly that, because you can now see the parts that should be underwater. The specific threshold where this becomes catastrophic is 1,035 feet of elevation. That number is not arbitrary. It is the point at which 12 of the dam's 17 power turbines must shut down completely. Not slow down. Shut down. At 1,035 feet, 3/4 of the dam's original turbine feed depth is effectively abandoned. The intake towers that were designed to share the load equally can no longer deliver water to the penstocks feeding most of the turbine hall. Only 5 of the existing turbines survive below that threshold. 3 new wide-head turbine units are currently being installed specifically because they can operate at lower lake levels. But even with those upgrades, the maximum number of functioning units below 1,035 feet is 8. Not 17, 8. The dam does not fail all at once. It steps down threshold by threshold, each step permanent until the water rises again. This is exactly what that symptom means when you see it at a reservoir. Exposed infrastructure is not scenic decay. It is a record of how far the operating envelope has already contracted. The concrete you can see above the waterline today is the concrete that used to hold the upper gate openings in functional position. It is the physical record of the intake geometry that no longer works. In July 2022, Lake Mead hit a record modern low of 1,041 feet. That was the lowest elevation recorded since the lake was first filled in the 1930s and 1940s. And at 1,041 feet, the lake was 6 feet from the 1,035-foot mass shutdown threshold. 6 feet. That is not a margin. That is a near miss measured in the length of a room. The dam continued generating power through that summer only because the lake held just above the line where 12 turbines would have gone dark simultaneously. Today, the lake sits at 1,051 feet. That sounds like recovery. It is not recovery. The current level is roughly 7 feet lower than it was at this exact same time last year. It dropped 17 feet just since late May of 2024. The trajectory is not pointing away from 1,035 feet. It is pointing toward it, and the lake is arriving there faster than the calendar suggests it should. And the deeper part of this mechanism is what makes the intake tower geometry so unforgiving. These are not floating intakes. Modern reservoir engineering sometimes uses flexible or adjustable intake systems that can be repositioned as water levels change. Hoover Dam's towers are fixed concrete columns. They were built in the 1930s to serve a lake that was expected to stay within a manageable range of its full pool elevation of 1,220 feet. The engineering assumption baked into every gate opening, every penstock connection, every turbine calibration was a lake that stayed full. The towers cannot be lowered. The gate openings cannot be repositioned. The only adaptive response available to the system is to install new turbine units that can operate at lower pressures, which is exactly what the wide head unit installation program represents. But that program adds 3 units. The system is still losing 12. There is something structurally important about that asymmetry. The response to a collapsing operating envelope is to add 3 units that survive below the threshold while accepting the permanent loss of 12 units above it. The system is not being restored to its original capacity. It is being re-engineered around a smaller lake. That is not a recovery plan. That is a contraction plan. The engineering is acknowledging in the most concrete terms possible that the lake it was built for may not return. Now apply that to the broader system. Hoover Dam does not just generate power. It is the primary infrastructure node for water delivery across the lower Colorado River basin. The outlet works, fed by the 2 downstream intake towers, control the water releases that flow into the canal systems supplying Arizona, Nevada, and California. The power turbines generate electricity that runs across the southwest grid. These are not independent functions. The same lake level that determines whether the turbines can spin also determines the pressure and volume available for water delivery downstream. When the intake towers lose functional depth range, both systems degrade simultaneously. Power output drops and downstream delivery pressure changes. The 40 million people connected to this system are not connected to just one of those functions. They are connected to both through the same 4 towers, drawing from the same retreating lake. If Lake Mead held at 1,100 feet consistently, the lower cylinder gates on all 4 towers would remain functional. The 5 surviving legacy turbines, plus the 3 incoming wide head units, would maintain a reduced but stable generation profile, and the outlet works would continue delivering at adequate pressure. The system would be diminished but stable. The 1,035-foot threshold would remain a line on a chart rather than an operational boundary. But the lake is not holding at 1,100 feet. It is at 1,051 feet and falling faster than the same period last year. The threshold is not a distant scenario. It is the next 6 feet below where the lake was in July 2022. This creates a reinforcing failure pattern. As the lake drops and turbine output falls, the regional grid loses baseload generation capacity. That loss does not disappear. It is absorbed by other generation sources at higher cost and lower reliability. Meanwhile, the water delivery system faces reduced outlet pressure, which affects the canal systems and the treatment infrastructure downstream. Municipalities that draw from Lake Mead directly face intake challenges of their own. Las Vegas, for example, has already built a third intake tunnel at a lower elevation, specifically because the existing intakes were approaching their functional depth limits. That engineering response, like the wide head turbine program, is an acknowledgement that the lake is not expected to return to the elevation the original infrastructure was built for. Look at what appears normal on the surface of this system, and you are looking at the most advanced form of the problem. The lake is blue. Water is moving through the penstocks. Power is being generated. Turbines are spinning. From the visitor center, from the overlook, from any aerial photograph taken today, Hoover Dam appears to be functioning exactly as it was built to function. That appearance is the diagnostic trap. The system is functioning, but it is functioning inside a contracting envelope. Each foot of elevation lost is a foot that cannot be recovered without a multi-year surplus of inflow that the Colorado River Basin has not produced in decades. The calm surface hides the fact that the operating geometry has already permanently changed, that 3/4 of the original turbine feed depth is one bad drought year away from abandonment, and that the infrastructure responses underway are responses to contraction, not restoration. You, the viewer, should watch the elevation number, not the daily fluctuation. Those move in both directions seasonally. Watch the year-over-year comparison at the same calendar date. If the lake is lower on the same date this year than it was last year, the system is contracting. If it is lower 2 years in a row at the same date, the contraction is structural, not seasonal. The July 2022 low was 1,041 feet. The current level is 1,051 feet, already 7 feet below the same period last year. Watch what happens between now and the next summer low. If it approaches or crosses 1,041 feet again, the 6-foot margin to mass turbine shutdown is back. If it drops below 1,041 feet, the system enters territory it has never operated in during the modern era. That is not a projection. That is the threshold the engineering was built around, and the lake is demonstrating that it can reach it. Watch also for news about the wide head turbine installation schedule. The program to add 3 low-elevation units is the most direct evidence of what the engineers expect. If that installation accelerates, it means the operating window is closing faster than the public timeline suggests. If additional units are commissioned beyond the 3 currently planned, the contraction plan is deepening. The engineering response is the honest signal. It tells you what the lake elevation number alone cannot. So here is the answer to the question from the beginning. This is how 40 million people get cut off. Lake Mead drops to 1,035 feet, 12 of 17 turbines shut down simultaneously. The power generation capacity of the most critical dam in the American Southwest collapses to less than half its designed output. And the same intake towers controlling downstream water delivery lose the pressure geometry they were built to operate within. All because 4 fixed concrete towers cannot follow a retreating waterline. And the lake is retreating faster than the calendar year last year, with no structural mechanism in place to reverse that trend. That is not a projection. That is the system working exactly as it is currently built. Hoover Dam is not dead yet, but that is the point. The turbines are still spinning, the water is still moving, the towers are still standing, and the exposed concrete above the waterline is quietly recording every foot of retreat, every gate opening that is no longer underwater, every quarter of the original intake geometry that no longer functions. The 40 million people who depend on this water do not see the mechanism. They see the surface. Now you do. Thank you for watching this case file. I genuinely appreciate you being here. If this kind of forensic diagnosis is what you come here for, Subscribing keeps these case files coming. Drop a comment telling me which water body you want covered next. I read them, and they shape the schedule. The next case file is already in progress, and the system it covers has been retreating quietly for longer than anyone has been paying attention.